Alexander the Great stands as one of the most iconic and influential figures in human history. Born in 356 BCE in the ancient city of Pella, Alexander's legacy transcends time and geography. As the king of Macedon, a military genius and a visionary leader, he transformed the ancient world through conquest and cultural integration. His life was a tapestry of ambition, courage, and brilliance, intertwined with the complexities of leadership and the thirst for greatness. From his early education under the philosopher Aristotle to his legendary campaigns across 3 continents, Alexander's story is one of relentless pursuit of glory. His ability to inspire loyalty, strategize with precision, and adapt to challenges reshaped the political and cultural landscapes of his era. Yet his life also raises questions about the costs of conquest, the burdens of power, and the fragility of human ambition. Early life and education. Alexander's journey began in a world steeped in myth and legend. Born to King Philip II of Macedon and Queen Olympias, he was surrounded by stories of heroic feats and divine ancestry. Olympias often told Alexander that he was descended from Zeus, fostering in him a sense of destiny from a young age. This belief in his divine origin became a cornerstone of his identity and later played a significant role in his ability to inspire his followers. From a young age, Alexander exhibited extraordinary intelligence and determination. Recognizing his potential, King Philip sought the finest education for his son. At the age of 13, Alexander was placed under the tutelage of Aristotle, one of the greatest minds of the ancient world. Aristotle not only taught him subjects like philosophy, science, and politics, but also instilled in him a deep appreciation for literature and the arts. The Iliad, with its tales of heroic deeds, became a source of inspiration for Alexander, who carried a copy of the epic on his campaigns. Despite his privileged upbringing, Alexander's childhood was not without challenges. The Macedonian court was rife with political intrigue and rivalries. He witnessed his father's ambitious efforts to expand Macedon's influence while contending with internal dissent. These experiences sharpened Alexander's political acumen and prepared him for the complexities of leadership. Alexander's relationship with his father was complex and often strained. While he admired Philip's military achievements, he also resented his father's numerous marriages and the potential threats they posed to his own claim to the throne. This tension fueled Alexander's determination to carve out his own legacy, distinct from his father's shadow. Even as a young man, Alexander demonstrated remarkable bravery and leadership. At the age of 16, while Philip was away on campaign, Alexander was left in charge of Macedon. When a rebellious Thracian tribe threatened the kingdom, Alexander led a successful military expedition to subdue them. This early victory showcased his tactical brilliance and foreshadowed the military prowess that would define his later years. Alexander's education under Aristotle extended beyond academics. The philosopher encouraged him to adopt a broader worldview, emphasizing the unity of humanity despite cultural differences. This early exposure to ideas of inclusivity and cultural exchange influenced Alexander's policies as a ruler, particularly his efforts to integrate Greek and Persian cultures during his campaigns. At the age of 18, Alexander proved his mettle on the battlefield at the Battle of Chaeronea. Fighting alongside his father, he played a crucial role in the decisive victory against the Greek city-states. His command of the companion cavalry, a highly trained unit of Macedonian horsemen, was instrumental in breaking the enemy lines. This triumph solidified his reputation as a capable and fearless leader. Philip's assassination in 336 BCE thrust Alexander into power at the age of 20. Despite his youth, he wasted no time in consolidating his authority. He swiftly dealt with internal revolts and reasserted Macedonian dominance over the Greek city-states. Through a combination of diplomacy and military force, Alexander secured his position as king and laid the foundation for his future conquests. While still in the early stages of his rule, Alexander began envisioning a campaign to conquer the Persian Empire. This ambitious goal was driven by a desire to avenge the Persian invasions of Greece and to fulfill the legacy of his father, who had initiated plans for such a campaign before his death. The stage was set for Alexander to embark on one of the most remarkable military adventures in history. The Conquest of Persia. Alexander's campaign against the Persian Empire marked the beginning of his meteoric rise to global dominance. In 334 BCE, he crossed the Hellespont, modern-day Dardanelles, with a force of approximately 40,000 soldiers. This act was more than just a military maneuver. It symbolized the commencement of a monumental journey that would reshape the ancient world. The first major engagement of the campaign occurred at the Battle of the Granicus River. Facing a Persian force significantly larger than his own, Alexander displayed his characteristic boldness by personally leading a cavalry charge that broke the enemy's lines. This victory secured his foothold in Asia Minor and demonstrated his ability to outmaneuver larger armies through superior strategy and leadership. Following his success at the Granicus, Alexander turned his attention to the western coast of Asia Minor. He liberated several Greek city-states from Persian control, presenting himself as a champion of Hellenism and earning the loyalty of these cities. His actions were not merely military, they also involved diplomacy and propaganda, reinforcing his image as a liberator rather than a conqueror. In 333 BCE, Alexander faced the Persian king Darius III at the Battle of Issus. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Alexander's tactical brilliance once again secured victory. By exploiting the narrow terrain to neutralize the Persian army's numerical advantage, he dealt a crushing blow to Darius's forces. This battle not only demonstrated Alexander's genius on the battlefield, but also struck a psychological blow to the Persian king, who fled the field, leaving his family and treasury behind. With the Persian heartland now vulnerable, Alexander continued his campaign southward. His next objective was the strategic city of Tyre, a fortified island stronghold. The siege of Tyre in 332 BCE was one of Alexander's most challenging campaigns. Overcoming formidable defenses through ingenuity and perseverance, he constructed a massive causeway to breach the city's walls. The eventual capture of Tyre was a testament to his determination and engineering acumen. After the fall of Tyre, Alexander marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator. The Egyptians, discontented under Persian rule, hailed Alexander as their pharaoh. It was in Egypt that he founded the city of Alexandria, which would later become a center of culture, commerce, and learning. Alexander's time in Egypt also marked a turning point in his self-perception, as he embraced the notion of divine kingship, presenting himself as a godlike figure. With Egypt under his control, Alexander turned his attention back to the Persian heartland. In 331 BCE, he faced Darius III once more at the Battle of Gaugamela. This decisive encounter, fought on an open plain near modern-day Iraq, showcased Alexander's mastery of battlefield tactics. Despite being outnumbered, his disciplined forces overwhelmed the Persian army, securing a resounding victory. Darius fled once again, effectively ending organized Persian resistance. Following his triumph at Gaugamela, Alexander entered the Persian capitals of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis. These cities, rich in wealth and history, symbolize the heart of the Persian Empire. Alexander's decision to burn the palace at Persepolis has been a subject of debate, interpreted by some as an act of vengeance for the Persian invasion of Greece, and by others as a calculated move to consolidate his authority. The death of Darius III in 330 BCE marked the end of the Persian Empire, but Alexander's ambitions extended far beyond its borders. He declared himself the rightful ruler of Asia, adopting Persian customs and practices to integrate his new subjects into his empire. This policy of cultural fusion, though controversial among his Macedonian followers, reflected his vision of a unified world under his rule. By the time Alexander reached the Persian heartland, his reputation as an invincible commander was firmly established. His ability to inspire loyalty and adapt to diverse challenges made him a leader of unparalleled stature. However, his relentless drive for conquest also began to strain his relationships with his own men, setting the stage for future tensions. The campaign in Central Asia. With the Persian Empire effectively subdued, Alexander directed his focus towards Central Asia, aiming to secure the easternmost reaches of his expanding domain. This phase of his campaign was marked by some of the most grueling and ambitious military operations of his career, as he ventured into uncharted territories fraught with natural and political challenges. Alexander's march into Central Asia began with the pursuit of the remaining Persian satraps and nobles who had resisted his authority. These local rulers had retreated into the rugged and remote regions of modern-day Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, where they mounted guerrilla-style resistance against Alexander's forces. The terrain was unforgiving, with towering mountains, narrow passes, and hostile weather conditions testing the endurance of his army. One of the pivotal moments in this campaign was the capture of Bessus, a Persian noble who had declared himself the successor to Darius III. Bessus's defiance posed a symbolic and practical challenge to Alexander's authority. After a relentless pursuit, Alexander apprehended Bessus and handed him over to Persian loyalists for execution, demonstrating both his determination to eliminate rivals and his respect for Persian customs of justice. The Central Asian campaign was not only a military endeavor, but also a cultural and administrative one. Alexander founded a series of cities, many of which bore his name, such as Alexandria Eshkei, Alexandria the Furthest in modern Tajikistan. These settlements served as military outposts, centers of administration, and hubs for cultural exchange, laying the groundwork for Hellenistic influence in the region. The resistance in Central Asia was fierce and protracted. Local tribes, such as the Sogdians and the Bactrians, refused to submit to Macedonian rule. Alexander's response was both strategic and brutal. He employed a combination of diplomacy, marriage alliances, and punitive expeditions to pacify the region. The siege of the Sogdian Rock, a seemingly impregnable fortress, is one of the most famous episodes of this campaign. Alexander's forces scaled the cliffs under cover of darkness, compelling the defenders to surrender in awe of his ingenuity. During his time in Central Asia, Alexander married Roxana, the daughter of a prominent Bactrian noble. This union was both a personal and political decision, symbolizing his commitment to integrating the peoples of his empire. While the marriage strengthened his ties with the local elite, it also caused unease among his Macedonian officers, who viewed such alliances with suspicion. The prolonged campaign in Central Asia tested the loyalty and morale of Alexander's army. His men, weary from years of constant warfare and disillusioned by the harsh conditions, began to question the endless nature of his conquests. Alexander's increasing adoption of Persian customs, including the practice of proskynesis, a form of ritual obeisance, further alienated his Macedonian followers, who saw it as a betrayal of their Greek ideals. Despite these tensions, Alexander remained resolute in his pursuit of expansion. His leadership during this period showcased his ability to inspire his troops through both charisma and decisive action. He personally led dangerous missions, enduring the same hardships as his men, which helped to maintain their loyalty even in the face of mounting challenges. Alexander's time in Central Asia also highlighted his vision for a cosmopolitan empire. He encouraged cultural assimilation, recruiting local soldiers into his army, and promoting intermarriage between Macedonians and native populations. This policy, though progressive for its time, faced resistance from both his Greek and Macedonian followers, who struggled to reconcile their identity with the emerging multicultural empire. By the time Alexander emerged from Central Asia, his empire spanned an unprecedented expanse, encompassing a diverse array of peoples, cultures, and landscapes. However, his relentless ambition and the strains of prolonged warfare foreshadowed the challenges that lay ahead as he prepared to push even further into the unknown territories of India. The Indian Campaign. Alexander's march into India was the most ambitious and challenging phase of his conquests. In 327 BCE, he led his army across the Hindu Kush into the Indian subcontinent, drawn by tales of immense wealth and powerful kingdoms. This campaign would test his strategic genius and the resilience of his forces as they faced unfamiliar terrain, new adversaries, and growing discontent within their ranks. Upon entering the region, Alexander encountered the fierce resistance of local rulers, including the formidable King Porus of the Paurava kingdom. The most notable engagement during this campaign was the Battle of the Hydaspes River in 326 BCE. Porus commanded a well-trained army, including war elephants, that posed a significant challenge to Alexander's forces. Despite these obstacles, Alexander's tactical brilliance once again secured victory. He used deception to cross the river undetected and launch a surprise attack, neutralizing the elephants and overwhelming Porus's forces. The aftermath of the battle showcased Alexander's magnanimity and political acumen. Impressed by Porus's bravery, Alexander reinstated him as a vassal king, granting him additional territory. This act not only secured the loyalty of Porus, but also sent a powerful message to other regional rulers, encouraging them to align with Alexander rather than resist his advance. Following his victory at the Hydaspes, Alexander continued his march deeper into India, founding new cities and integrating local soldiers into his army. His efforts to establish a foothold in the region included diplomatic alliances and the introduction of Greek cultural practices. However, these measures were met with mixed reactions, as the local populations remained deeply rooted in their own traditions. The campaign took a heavy toll on Alexander's army. After years of continuous warfare, his soldiers were exhausted, homesick, and increasingly disillusioned with his insatiable ambition. The turning point came when they reached the Hydaspes River, modern Bees River, where the army, overwhelmed by the prospect of facing even larger Indian kingdoms to the east, mutinied and refused to march further. Alexander, though deeply disappointed, recognized the limits of his authority and the importance of maintaining his army's loyalty. He reluctantly agreed to turn back, marking the easternmost extent of his conquests. To commemorate the moment, he erected altars on the banks of the Hydaspes River, symbolizing both his achievements and the boundaries of his empire. The return journey was fraught with hardship. Alexander led his forces southward along the Indus River, subduing resistance from local tribes and founding additional cities, such as Pella near the river's delta. The campaign against the Malayan tribe was particularly intense, during which Alexander was severely wounded in battle. His near-death experience underscored the risks he continued to take, even as his empire reached unparalleled heights. After reaching the Indus Delta, Alexander divided his forces for the journey back to Persia. Part of his army, led by Admiral Granicus, navigated the coastline by sea, while Alexander led the remaining troops through the harsh Gedrosian desert. The desert crossing proved disastrous, with extreme heat, scarcity of water, and treacherous terrain claiming the lives of many soldiers. This ordeal highlighted the human cost of Alexander's relentless ambition. Despite the hardships, Alexander's return to Persia was marked by a series of triumphs and celebrations. He conducted elaborate ceremonies to honor his achievements and solidify his authority as the ruler of a vast and diverse empire. However, the strain of the Indian campaign and the challenges of governing such an expansive territory began to manifest in growing tensions within his court and military. The Indian campaign underscored Alexander's unparalleled ambition and determination, but it also revealed the limitations of his empire. While he had succeeded in extending his dominion to the edge of the known world, the costs of his conquests, in lives, resources, and morale, cast a shadow over his achievements. As Alexander turned his attention to consolidating his empire, the seeds of future challenges were already being sown. Alexander's vision of uniting the East and West was evident throughout his Indian campaign. He sought to blend cultures, encourage trade, and integrate his new subjects into his empire. Yet, the challenges of cultural diversity, logistical complexity, and the sheer scale of his domain highlighted the difficulties of sustaining such an ambitious project. The final years and legacy. After the grueling Indian campaign, Alexander returned to Persia in 324 BCE, where he began consolidating his vast empire and implementing his vision of cultural integration. His final years were marked by both remarkable achievements and growing internal challenges that would foreshadow the fragmentation of his empire after his death. One of Alexander's most ambitious initiatives during this period was the mass marriage ceremony at Susa. In a grand display of his commitment to uniting the cultures of his empire, Alexander arranged the marriages of over 10,000 of his soldiers to Persian women, including his own marriage to Statira, a daughter of Darius III. This act symbolized his vision of a blended empire, where Greek and Persian cultures would coexist harmoniously. However, the event was met with mixed reactions, as many Macedonians resented these unions and viewed them as a betrayal of their own traditions. Alexander also undertook extensive administrative reforms aimed at streamlining governance across his empire. He appointed both Macedonian and local officials to key positions, emphasizing a balance between loyalty and expertise. His policies promoted trade, infrastructure development, and cultural exchange, leaving a lasting impact on the regions he ruled. Cities like Alexandria in Egypt became thriving centers of commerce and learning, embodying the Hellenistic ideals that Alexander championed. Despite these successes, Alexander faced growing dissent among his ranks. His adoption of Persian customs, including the demand for proskynesis, alienated many of his Macedonian followers. The execution of trusted generals like Parmenion and Philotas on charges of conspiracy further strained relations within his inner circle, creating an atmosphere of suspicion and unease. In 323 BCE, Alexander turned his attention to new conquests. He planned an ambitious campaign to invade Arabia, with the ultimate goal of expanding his empire into the Western Mediterranean and possibly as far as the Atlantic Ocean. Preparations for this campaign were underway when his life was abruptly cut short. In June 323 BCE, while in Babylon, Alexander fell ill after a banquet. The exact cause of his death remains a subject of debate among historians, with theories ranging from fever and natural causes to poisoning. Regardless of the circumstances, his death at the age of 32 marked the end of one of history's most extraordinary lives. The news of Alexander's death sent shockwaves across his empire. With no clear successor, his son by Roxana was not yet born, the empire quickly descended into turmoil. His generals, known as the Diadochi, vied for control, resulting in the fragmentation of the empire into several Hellenistic kingdoms. Despite this disintegration, the cultural and political influence of Alexander's conquests endured for centuries. Alexander's legacy is both profound and complex. On one hand, he is celebrated as a military genius whose campaigns reshaped the ancient world and paved the way for the spread of Hellenistic culture. On the other hand, his conquests came at a tremendous human cost, raising questions about the ethics of his ambition and the sustainability of his empire. The cities he founded became centers of learning, blending Greek and local traditions to create a vibrant cultural synthesis. Alexandria, in Egypt in particular, stood as a beacon of knowledge, home to the legendary Library of Alexandria and a hub for scholars from across the Mediterranean and beyond. Alexander's vision of cultural integration, though incomplete, left an indelible mark on the regions he conquered. His policies encouraged trade, scientific exchange, and the fusion of artistic traditions, creating a legacy that would influence civilizations for centuries to come. In the centuries following his death, Alexander became a symbol of greatness and ambition, inspiring leaders, artists, and scholars alike. From the Roman Empire to the Islamic Golden Age, his achievements continued to be studied and celebrated, cementing his place as one of history's most enduring figures. Conclusion. Alexander the Great remains a towering figure in history, his life a testament to the power of vision, determination, and leadership. His conquests reshaped the ancient world, creating an empire that spanned 3 continents and united diverse cultures under a single rule. While his empire did not survive intact after his death, the legacy of Alexander's achievements lived on in the Hellenistic world he helped create. The cultural and intellectual exchange that flourished in the aftermath of his conquests laid the foundation for advancements in science, philosophy, art, and governance. Alexander's story is both a celebration of human potential and a cautionary tale about the costs of ambition. His life continues to captivate and inspire, offering timeless lessons on leadership, resilience, and the pursuit of greatness.